Okay guys, now before we get started, I just wanted to let you know that I'm going to be doing a shark card giveaway on my Twitter. So I'll leave a link in the description. You can go down there and check it out. All you have to do is follow me and retweet that tweet. I'm giving away a whale shark card to one of you guys, which is $3.5 million, which, as I'll explain in the video coming up, I think would cover a significant chunk of the money you're going to need for this Adventures and Finance DLC. So that's just a little bonus I want to give back to you guys. But anyways, let's not waste any more time and let's jump straight into the video. Okay, what's going on, guys? My name is Ross, or Mr. Boss for the win. And as I just mentioned, we are going to be talking about today my, kind of prediction, my estimates from what I know from previous Rockstar updates, how much money about you're going to need if you want to get everything in the Finance and Felony DLC. Now, particularly with this update, we only know a certain amount of information, and Rockstar has promised that later next week, we will be getting more information and a trailer, so hopefully then I'll be able to update you. But I know a lot of people want to get prepped now, and that is the absolute point of this video, trying to let you guys know how much money you are going to need, because there's a pretty amazing update week going on right now that will provide some amazing double money and RP opportunities. And like I said, the point of this video is to get you as organized and prepared as possible to have the cash ready to enjoy the update. So I'm going to be starting with what I think are going to be some of the most common elements of this update. Let's start with vehicles. So Rockstar have only teased one vehicle that's going to be coming in the Finance and Felony update, and it's going to be a supercar, the Pegasi Reaper. So we know that Rockstar definitely put premiums on supercars, and I don't think that's going to be any exception in this DLC. So for the pricing of the vehicles, I'm going off of two things. One, the existing supercars in the game, and two, the other vehicles that were launched in Executives and Other Criminals, because Rockstar have even stated on their newswire that this essentially is just one notch above the Executives and Other Criminals style DLC. So we know that the Progen T20 and the Osiris are the two most expensive supercars. One is just over $2 million. One is just under $2 million. I think Rockstar is going to break the bank with this supercar, especially if it ultimately becomes the fastest vehicle in the game. And the Pegasi Reaper certainly has the capacity and the capability to do that if Rockstar wants to make it the fastest, which obviously I could see them doing, because that would lead to more people wanting the car, which would obviously lead to more sales. So I'm going to go on a wild guess and say that at a minimum, I think the Pegasi Reaper is going to be $2.5 million. Now, once again, that's all based on the fact that it is going to be ending up the most expensive supercar. If it's not, I could see that price shrinking a little bit, but certainly because there's going to be a lot of hype surrounding this update, and a lot of hype because this is one of the first supercars we've gotten in a long, long time, I definitely see Rockstar putting a premium on this. Now, even though we don't know the other vehicles, we do know 100% confirmed that that is not going to be the only vehicle in the game. Rockstar stated that it's going to combine new gameplay with a host of new special vehicles, so that's plural. So I'm guessing we could expect anywhere from 3 to 5 to maybe even 6 new vehicles added within this update. And I know a lot of people are going to be asking, well, Mr. Boss the Win, why do you think that? Well, that's about how many vehicles were added in Executives and Other Criminals. Now, granted, only 3 of them, for the most part, were new. There were some new armored versions of Cognoscenti, like the Cognoscenti Regular and Cognoscenti 55, and then armored versions of cars we already had in the game, like the Shafter and the Baller. So that's kind of what I can see happening in this update. We'll be getting 3 or 4 new vehicles, and then maybe 2 or 3 or 4 armored existing variants of ones we already have in the game. And while I certainly don't expect every car that's going to be announced with this update to be around $2.5 million, in fact, I think the Reaper is going to be the most expensive of the vehicles we see. Imagine if each one of those is anywhere from $200,000 to $300,000, $400,000, $600,000, $700,000, kind of like they are in Executives and Other Criminals. That really does start to add up. So I think if you were to buy all the vehicles, that including the Reaper, what I would imagine would be 3 or 4 or 5 others, you could easily be close to $5 million on just buying them alone. That doesn't include any of the customization. That doesn't include any paint jobs or anything you plan on adding. So, like I said, this is kind of a stretch, but before you even touch anything else other than vehicles fully customized, you could see yourself at about $7 million. Now, of course, that is a scenario where you are purchasing every vehicle, which for the most part is unlikely of everyone to do. I'm sure there's some cars that people don't enjoy or would rather not have, but I'm almost positive around 90% of you are going to purchase the Reaper, probably one or two cars as well, which I would imagine would then be closer to $3 or $4 million without customization, maybe five and a half with. So still, it's going to be pretty expensive, just vehicles. But I still think they're going to be pretty awesome, and hopefully Rockstar does deliver on that front. So now let's talk about the high-rise offices and special warehouse properties that you're going to need in order to begin buying and selling the contraband across the city and how you're ultimately going to make profit. Now, I'm not 100% sure, and I'm hoping that Rockstar will clarify as we go on and next week. I think that they're two separate buildings, the high-rise office and the special warehouse properties. So if that's the case, I would imagine you would have to purchase one of each, a high-rise office and an accompanying warehouse to go with it. And I'm sure you can have a mix and match of combinations of where you want them. Maybe you want a warehouse in Sandy Shores, but you want an office in downtown Los Santos. Maybe Rockstar will let you end up doing that. And I think as far as price ranges go for this, we need to look at the properties that came with executives and other criminals. So there were two types of properties, excluding the yacht, because I think that's kind of an outlier, and I don't think that's kind of appropriate to compare it, especially because those were so expensive. But the first one is the Penthouse Apartments. So these were, I think, just over $1 million and then just under $1 million. So close to 900,000, 1 million, 1.1 million. So those were pretty expensive. And then any of the stilt homes ranged from $800,000 to $400,000. So those were a little bit more milder, but still pretty expensive. So I would imagine that maybe the high-rise offices would be more on the expensive end, close to $1 million. And then maybe the warehouses would be closer on the cheaper end, maybe $100,000, $200,000, which would make sense. Your office is going to be a lot nicer, and that obviously might vary by location. Now, another variable which we really don't know about is going to be the number of offices you can have. I would imagine that you could only have one, very similar to how you can only have one yacht in game. It wouldn't make sense to be the CEO of a corporation and have multiple offices to deal with. So I would imagine Rockstar is going to limit us to one of these houses and one of these warehouses. It might be more of the warehouses depending on what sort of activities you do. Again, those are just really details we don't know and don't have a ton of information on just quite yet. But still, if my prediction is correct, where it's close to $1 million for the high-rise office and then maybe $200,000, $300,000 for the warehouse, let's just call that around $1.5 million, just rounding up. So if you were to purchase, let's say, all of the vehicles, you're looking at close to $9 million with the addition of those properties. Only some of the vehicles, you're maybe looking closer towards $7 or $8 million with those properties included. So man, that is pretty expensive. Now, I would imagine the vehicles and the properties are going to be the biggest bulk of this update. Rockstar have mentioned that there's going to be exciting new features and much more. So I would imagine that with that is going to come very standard things that we see in Grand Theft Auto Online updates. So maybe a weapon or two, certainly maybe a lot of clothing. Executives and other criminals bought some pretty epic clothing to the game. So I think that that would be a great addition if they continued stuff like that. So I can see miscellaneous charges of around $1 million on those. Probably the majority of that spent on masks and jewelry and clothing. They put an emphasis on dressing up like a kingpin, which would be pretty awesome. So I would imagine the fancy clothing would be pretty expensive, obviously depending on what you're going to buy. So really in conclusion, and obviously I'll have an update video for you guys when more information becomes available. But as I mentioned earlier, I know some people like to prep in advance. There's double RP and money opportunities going on. So I know some people want to know, like, yeah, hey, how long do I have to play here? You know, I might need to get an extra $1 million or two. I'm going to state that just to be safe, and this is just to be safe, if you want to get everything from this update, you're probably going to need around $10 million in game. Now, I know for many people that is a scenario that doesn't exist. They're not going to get everything. They're going to get one or two cars, some of the clothing, a weapon, they're good to go. But I know there's a lot of people like myself that like to try out everything, and I kind of feel obligated to show everything off to you guys. So at a minimum, I do believe it's going to require $10 million in order to do everything. Now, I don't really have a margin of error for this because so many things are unknown, and that's why I am going to be doing an update. But as for now, we've got about 11 days left until this DLC does drop, and I'm thinking you're going to need about $10 million. So I'd love to hear from you guys in the comment section down below. Definitely let me know what you think about my prediction on how much money you're ultimately going to need. Quick reminder, in case you forgot from the start of the video, I'm doing a shark card giveaway. That link will be in the description so you can check it out for yourself. And you might find yourself walking away with $3.5 million, which could get you a lot from this upcoming update. If you guys did go on to enjoy, a like rating would, of course, be awesome. And also subscribe to my YouTube channel if you are new or you like daily GTA 5 videos like this. With out the way, guys, like I said, thanks for watching. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.